The Sony A95K is now here. This is Sony's 2022 OLED and 4K flagship Master Series TV. It is a QD or quantum dot OLED and is the same panel that is used in the Samsung S95B and is available in 55 and 65 inch sizes at $3,000 and $4,000 in the US. The A95K is known as the King of TVs, for it is the winner of the 2022 Value Electronics TV Shootout. You'll find a link to the product page at Value Electronics in the description below. So if you're unsure, the Quantum Dot OLED differs from WRGB OLED from LG displays by not having a white subpixel, and it has a different pixel layout, and what it does is it uses a blue OLED to shine through a green and red quantum dot layer, and that's how you get your three primaries, red, green, and blue. The advantage of this is that it gives up to 90 or so percent of BT 2020 color gamut coverage. The WRGB OLEDs typically sit around 75%, so that is a notable increase in color gamut. However, do note that the overwhelming majority of HDR content, even though it uses BT 2020 as its container, it is mostly in P3 color space, which is a much smaller gamut that both QD and WRGB OLED can fully cover. So if you want to see the real world differences between this and say the G2, subscribe and hit the notification bell, and I will have videos in the near future with direct comparisons showing all of this. And this A95K is a long-term purchase for me and will be used in future comparisons with other TVs, and we'll have much more content to come on the A95K. So if you subscribe and hit the bell, you'll be notified when those videos come out. So this video is going to be my unboxing, setup, and initial impressions, and then I will follow this up with a essential settings video, and then an advanced settings video, a review, and like I said, many comparisons to come. So the A95K first initial impression is that it's fantastic. This is not the first one I've seen. I did see the one at the Value Electronics 2022 TV Shootout, and I have also seen another one and had hands-on with it, and now I own this one so that I can have lots of time to play and toy around with it. So if you are considering the A95K and possibly the S95B, and I know I see that a lot, so just real quick, want to get that out of the way, should you pay the $1,700 or nearly double the cost extra for the A95K over the S95B? And if your main concern is just the pure picture quality and nothing else, for the overwhelming majority, 90+% of you, no, they're going to be rather similar. However, if you are interested in accuracy and calibration, that's where there's a huge separation between them, as well as just general livability and usability of the panels and the OS and other things. So we'll get into that some more in the review or a later video. Alright, so on to the unboxing. When you open it up, there is a warning sheet about the stand, and you have all your accessories and items in the top foam. You want to pull that out. The TV sits in like this. Here is the directions showing the two different ways the stand can go, how to put it together, and along with all the stuff for the back panel. You could pause and look at that if you need to. This is everything that comes in the box aside from the TV and the stand itself, which include back panels to cover wires. These are the stand attachments that you screw into the stand, and then you slot the TV onto those and then add more screws in. The stand comes wrapped in this foam and a plastic bag. I must admit I am not a fan of this stand much at all. So you can see that the attachments for the stand have a big and small little notch that go in the holes, so it doesn't matter which one goes where, and they only go in one way. And then once you have them in, you slot the TV so that the screw that's attached to the TV goes right on top, and then you put in the remaining two screws. On the back you have the line in to use it as a center channel speaker. There's 4 HDMI ports, 2 USBs, a center line in that works with the Sony soundbar systems, your Ethernet, ATSC 3.0 tuner, and a mic mute switch. The power cable comes out the back left side at the bottom if you're looking at it from the back, everything else on the right. These two little pieces go to the stand because there's little grab handles on each side, and then that plugs the holes once it's where you want it, and these cover the back of the latches that go into the stand so that you don't see the screws. And now you can see that I've put those on, and I'm going to put the rest of the paneling on to show how it looks with everything there. And this also comes with a camera. The camera is used for doing like video calls and such, and it's also supposed to be used as a sensor to see where you are sitting to direct the audio from the screen more to your position and things along those lines. And it comes with a little cover for the port on the top where the camera goes if you're not going to use the camera. So I personally am not going to be using the camera, so I put the cover there along with all the other covers, and this is how it looks with everything on the back. And also you'll see those two little holes towards the top. I recommend moving the TV by putting a couple fingers in those holes and holding it from there. And the TV itself is not so heavy, but the TV with the stand is very heavy. Alright, now here is what I consider a pretty big issue, is that foam sheet is the only thing covering the screen, and that's not good. Once I took everything off, you can see how there's little scuffs around the edge of the screen. There's even smudges and fingerprints and stuff on it. If this had a clear sheet of plastic that you peel off on the front, none of this would be an issue. So it does need a good cleaning, and QD OLEDs are not the easiest things to clean as well. So I do hope that Sony will put a sheet of plastic on the screen in the near future. There are many reports of this, and it's just not a good look for a Master Series premium TV. Alright, on to the setup. Google TV. It is my personal favorite OS for TVs. I find it extremely easy, and the general moving around and everything is smooth. Everything's where it's easy to find. It signs you in automatically if you get a new TV into your different apps like Netflix. You just sign into your Google account, and then it will transfer anything that's saved from a previous Google or Android OS, whether it was your TV or a streaming box. So at this step, it's going to ask you what apps you want to install. I recommend unchecking all of them. It will automatically install YouTube, and the reason for that is once you get towards the end of this, it's going to download all of it, and it can be quite slow on its initial setup, but if you download them individually later, it'll be faster. And then what you just saw there is the typical Sony like splash screen that they use once you get signed in, and now you're going to be setting up the Sony side of the TV, so you got to agree to all of Sony's privacy stuff. And then here's where you can disable the voice recognition, and this right here is the big important thing. The power saving being in the setup process is fantastic. Definitely recommend turning that off so you get the full brightness of the TV, and that is something that all brands should be doing. Now here you can also do the acoustic auto calibration if you're going to be using the TV speakers. So what you do is you just hold the remote from your sitting position, and it will send some noises and calibrate the speakers of the TV to where you sit. And if you connected the camera, it would have done a setup for that. And now here you have your Bravia Core app, free movies, and streaming subscription. Bravia Core offers a bunch of Sony movies and a high video bitrate quality, and I will show that more towards the end of this video. It will now check for updates and then offer Samba TV, which will use your search history and stuff to make recommendations and all that kind of stuff. I turned that one off. So once you get to installing your apps, if you're on Wi-Fi, this may take a little while. If you can run wired, it will actually speed this up pretty substantially. Even if you're right next to a fast Wi-Fi, for whatever reason, that setup process is pretty slow. Alright, so when you first get into the TV, it's going to be on the standard picture preset with the ambient light sensor on, and all of this is just not recommended to be set up this way. However, to set it up is very, very simple, and I will have a in-depth basic setting guide and advanced settings guide in the near future, but for now I recommend just going over to the custom picture mode and then turning off the ambient light sensor. Now, I've seen some mention going around about cinema mode being the accurate quote-unquote mode. No, it's not. Cinema mode is not the accurate out-of-the-box mode. It is custom. So just put it in custom, turn off the ambient light sensor, and you're good. Alright, so with the Google OS, you can go to your apps, and if you long press, then you can control and move them around. The remote that comes with the A95K is the premium backlit silvery type remote. I think it's a great remote. It's not too big, it's not too small, it has enough buttons, has settings and input buttons, which you can't say about some other brands. And then once you're done with that, you can go into the basic settings and then go deep into the menus here to your HDMI signal format, and this is where you're going to adjust for your devices. So standard would be used if you're like using a cable box, but otherwise you want to set them to enhanced. 3, which is your eARC port, you can set to either enhanced to get HDR10 or enhanced Dolby Vision, that where you get HDR10 and Dolby Vision. And then port 4 I set up for a game console, so you can do VRR or enhanced. VRR will have a little bit more input lag. And then if you have a device that's not 4K, you can adjust the scaling. And then for the sound, here's where you can adjust the speakers of the TV itself and do some customization of the audio. At the bottom, you can see there is a Dolby audio format there. And then if you go to audio output, right now I have nothing connected, but if you were using eARC or a Toslink cable, this is where you set all that up. So I'm going to go ahead and set eARC to auto now, and then you want to turn pass-through to auto as well. And then at the top of this menu is where you can see if it's internal or external audio. And then under expert panel settings, I definitely recommend turning off the pixel shift. That way you get your full 4K resolution, and that's also where you can run a manual pixel refresher if you would need to, if you have some image retention. Alright, as we go further down to the system settings, if you go to About, this is where you can get a update or manually check for a system update. Mine is up to date as it did it during the initial setup process. And then you can see Reset is how you can factory reset the TV. Status will tell you a bunch of information like your IP address and how long the panel has been used, so your hours of use on the TV. You have this little clock menu system that you can set up with a timer, alarm, all that kind of stuff if you're into that thing. And then you can go down to storage, see how much storage is available, and add USB storage if you need to. If you go to power and energy, you can change it so that the TV will go either to the Google Home menu or to your last use input. And then under energy saver, you can verify that in that initial setup it did turn off the energy saving. And then coming down further, you can lock the picture adjustments if you have children using the TV and you don't want them messing with your settings. And then there's a retail demo mode. If you wanted to look at that, you could, but as soon as you activate it, it throws it into Vivid and everything, so I just turned that off. There's also the initial setup there, so if you ever have issues with CEC or eARC or soundbar or anything, you can go back to that initial setup and it will run that again for all your connections. And then if you go and press the input button, you can go over and then edit. So I'm going to go through and pick the apps and stuff that I want to show up as inputs, so the Bravia Core and YouTube, for example, and now they show up here as actual inputs. And now I'm going to show Bravia Core real quick. It did need an update as soon as I went to use it. It's the first time launching it, so the first time you do launch an app that is already on the TV, there's a good chance you'll get an update. And so this is for all the Sony TVs. Depending on where you buy it and what model it is, you get anywhere from 5 to 10 movies or 1 year or 2 years of the streaming service. Now, if you've already done that, they did put a cap on how much you can add to your individual email address. However, if you signed up with a different email address, then you would continue to get more of those tokens for the movies. So that's up to you if you want to be signing in and signing out with different emails to get more of the movies if you are buying multiple Sony TVs. Me, I don't care that much, so my tokens are going to go to waste on this because I'm at my cap already. And then what you want to do is go down to where it says Pure Stream and turn that on so that you get the higher bitrate capability, which is 80 megabits per second, although you will need a connection of 115 in order for that to actually work, which means you cannot use the built-in Ethernet because that Ethernet jack is only 100 megabits per second. So that's for if you're on Wi-Fi and you need to be having a good solid Wi-Fi connection. However, a USB to gigabit Ethernet may work as well. I gotta check the one that I have and see if it works on this model or if we have to find new ones. but that'll be covered at some point in a future video. Anyway, so when you get into the Bravia Core, it does unlock a supposedly calibrated Bravia Core mode. However, it does not let you change anything, including motion settings are locked out, and it has a lot of soap opera effect. It's also not actually accurate, so I do not recommend using it. I would rather use custom and adjust things, especially motion, to my taste. However, the quality of this app is actually very good, and this is really showing like the highlights and stuff of the TV. It's really quite good. Okay, so now just showing a little bit more of Google OS and how the search works, and you can go to the search menu or you can just hit the voice search, and this is what I really like about Google. You just say the name of a show or movie and add in the app, and it will just take you straight to it, and you don't have to select a profile or anything. It'll go to your last one that was watching it and just start playing. It's very quick and very easy. And then Google TV OS has recently added a feature called profiles. So if there's different people in the house, you can, on the upper right, see which profile is signed in and have different customization for each. If you go over to live, it's going to use Pluto TV to give you live TV. It works pretty well. It looks pretty decent. You know, nothing fantastic, but it's free and it's there. I think some people get some use out of it. And then if you go over to apps, you can search for apps here. You can type them in or search by voice, either or. I am searching for the CalMat app, as I do need that for calibration and unlocking things, and I'll have in the future video what it unlocks and why you may want to have it as well. And then here, if you go to all apps, you can see everything that comes on the TV, everything you've downloaded. And then I do recommend going to this Sony bonus offer. There's some pretty interesting things in here, and if you want to have a discounted extended warranty offered straight from Sony, if you click on that right there, it says exclusive offer, it will send an offer to your email that will let you get a discounted rate on a extended warranty that also covers accidental damage. And if you haven't had YouTube Premium or Pandora Premium, you get offers for trials of those services and a couple other things. So it's worth peeking into this app and seeing what's in here. And then there's also a tips and help section in this app. Alright, so other than that, you're pretty much set up and ready to go. You can run whatever connections. Again, HDMI 3 is your eARC port, so if you have a HDMI based soundbar or receiver, that's the port you need to use. And then HDMI 3 and 4 are the 2.1 ports that have 120 Hz 4K gaming. And before I end this, I do need to talk about the stand. The majority of the weight of the stand is right at the front from the angle that you're seeing it right now. So when you go to maneuver it and move it around, it's very front heavy, so it's very kind of just awkward to move. The stand design also means you cannot use a soundbar. This TV is basically meant to be used with the Sony HT-A9. Also, with the way that I have it oriented with the stand coming forward, you see the stand. And the stand material is very kind of almost dark gray, and it's plastic, and it does not fit and look right with the bezel of the TV at all. And if I would reverse it so the stand comes out the back of the TV, then the TV leans backwards, and that would bug me. So I do really wish this had a different stand. Alright, so that's going to be the end of this. Again, I will have more videos very soon. Thank you all for watching, and if you made it to the end here, leave a comment, let me know what you think of the A95K, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.